They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Hello and welcome to Riggo the Diesel. I am Riggo. I'm also the Diesel. I'm also go by the name of John Riggins, and I have Larry Michael with me, the voice of your Washington Redskins.
Hello.
And I don't know where to begin today. There's no Joe Theismann just stopped in, ducked his head in here.
Was that a quick visit?
That was a very quick visit.
For him, that was very quick.
It was exceptionally
That
quick.
could have been a lot longer than it was.
It would have been almost a stump speech, but we avoided that. So
No,
Joe
you know, he's
went
got
on
places to go, people to meet, and money to make.
let's see, big time, underscore that last part you just said. Anyway, I've got one thing, by the way, this is just out of the blue. I suffered vertigo yesterday and ended up in the emergency room.
No.
Yeah,
Wow, where were you when that hit
T-Cat.
you?
I didn't call him, but I texted T-Cat and said, I don't know if I can go. I said, it's kind of got to wait and see
Let you
how this is
go.
going to shake out. And then I said, it doesn't look like we're going to have to scrub our mission for tomorrow, which would be today. So, yeah.
Wow,
It was kind
well, you hope you weren't on a ladder or
Have you ever
anything.
had vertigo?
Years ago. I don't even want to talk about it because,
Exactly.
jinx myself.
Well, not only that, but
Yeah.
it is so. Well, think about jinxing yourself. I saw in my neighborhood ambulances backing up to a couple different houses, and I'm going, I wonder who that is. And the next thing you know, they're coming to my house. Like, literally saw one that morning. But my point is that vertigo, if you recall, I had it one other time, and it was induced by a doctor because I have a middle ear deal. And so
They put that thing in the ear, they squirted the water in your eardrums, right, and then you start flipping out.
Oh.
The room is spinning worse than ever.
And that's what happened to me yesterday. And that's when I realized that, I got a serious problem here. So the first thing you think of, it's a big one, right? I mean, that's where my mind goes, that you may only have minutes to live, the golden hour, the whole deal. So I go down there, and and it's like I was telling Todd on the way out here, T-Cat was, I was thinking, I could. My wife said, well, do you want to call Uber? Because she wanted to.
You want to call
Uber? And I'm thinking.
In his hands of Uber.
I don't know.
What's going back and forth? Finally, I thought, I think I'm okay. And then all of a sudden, I laid down. And as soon as I laid down, I had a bad episode, so I didn't mess around with it. So anyway.
But they gave you something to fix it, though, right?
Well, kind of, yeah. They gave me some medication with it, but it was kind of as long as I sat up and I didn't lay down. When I laid down, it was when it kicked it in.
Wow.
And it
it's an inner
and it's no
ear.
fun. And particularly when you don't know it's coming on. I mean, like you were in a doctor's office and he induced it.
Yes.
Like I had it before, but even then they don't tell you what's going to happen.
No.
But this is, you're just minding your own business, and you think, and that thought goes through your mind, doesn't it? Where how many people wake up every morning and don't realize in a couple hours it's going to be their last day.
I don't even want to talk about
Earth.
that. I don't even want to talk about that.
Well, that's what goes through your mind. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this is the way they say it is. Don't plan too far into the future. You never know what's going to happen.
Don't buy ripe bananas is the old saying, right?
That's Lou Holtz's favorite saying.
Man, but
I don't buy green bananas or ripe bananas.
You don't want to get vertigo on a full stomach.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I didn't really get nauseous. I was on the borderline, and I had eaten, so I don't know. Anyway, all right, we got.
Hopefully, Case Keenum doesn't get vertigo.
Yeah, from the pass rushes coming back by his way. All right, well, we're heading down to the very end of the preseason.
Yes,
we got a game in 2 days, and I don't know. You look at the team right now. Like every team, for the most part, unless you're a team in my mind that finished really strong in 2018, somebody that was coming on at the end, or teams that made the playoffs and that were knocking on the door, you might say. You look at the preseason list. I look at the preseason. I think there's just so many question marks about the middle of the road and the downtrodden teams. How are they going to do the next year? And unfortunately, I think this franchise falls into the latter. They're a middle of the pack type of team. They could, if things fall into place, they could do very well depending on the defense. And if they don't, they could struggle a little bit. That's kind of the way I see it now. And with this last game being played, like they used to say out in Kansas, the hay is in the barn now. There's nothing left to do really.
I thought the horses left the barn or something like that.
They leave the barn, but you got to have the hay in there.
You got to have the hay in there in case the horse comes back.
Well, so it doesn't get rained on. The hay will spoil if it gets rained on.
Yeah, you want dry hay.
Go with the kid to put plenty of hay in the barn.
Yeah,
I know what I'm talking
about. I get hay fever. That's what I got. But I want to ask you this because you in your prominent role in the pregame show, I heard you say about 5 times you couldn't wait to see Guice. That was the guy you wanted to see. You saw Guice. Mm-hmm. What'd you see?
I thought he did fine. I did, considering that he's been out of football for 18 months. I thought that he ran well. He did, he did everything that I'm sure that they wanted him to do without overdoing anything. I mean, I think he had double-digit carries and
11
touches.
carries, 44 yards.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yep.
So they did exactly kind of what I thought. They wanted to see exactly how he's going to fare with a good work. That's in the first half, right? He didn't play second half.
No, he didn't.
So that equates to over 20 carries a game. So now this is you see a guy that now you've seen him in preseason, and you've got an experienced guy in Adrian Peterson. Plus, you got some couple other backs on there that can help you. But you got it now. Now's the tricky part begins. How do you actually get the most out of both these guys, and for it to be, what do you want to say, that gives your team the most octane, so to speak, your offense? That's a difficult question to answer. And who's going to start the opener against Philadelphia? I mean, this actually, obviously, by now we all know Case Keenum's a quarterback is going to be the starting quarterback, but you really don't know who your starting running back's going to be. And I'd have to lean towards Peterson because he finished the year last year, and he's Adrian Peterson, future Hall of Fame guy. But don't be surprised. I mean, I got to figure, if he's doing well, they'll play him, and then they're probably going to spell him. But Guice is the young guy. He's the guy that's going to be sitting there on the bench smoking cigarettes until he gets in the game. He's like, come on.
He's really going to be smoking cigarettes, you think?
I'm pretty sure he will. I would be.
Cigars, maybe. I will say this: that
let's just hope it's cigars or cigarettes.
It's a pleasant situation to have two good quality. And three, Chris Thompson. And Chris Thompson has been in bubble wrap all preseason.
Well, I don't count him in that because he's a third down
back.
I mean, in emergency, certainly he could play first and second down.
I think he's going to get some carries, but I think the difference between Peterson and Guice is you can observe it. You can see they're different running backs. Adrian can make a lot more out of nothing. I've seen him just juke people out of their shoes. Guice, I like what he did on that one run where he had Morgan Moses and Brandon Sheriff pull out in front of him. He lowered his shoulder. I know in preseason game maybe you shouldn't do this, but he got 3 extra yards on the sideline initiating contact. Like a guy I used to know who wore 44. You would get a lot of extra yards at the end of your runs just by being tough, just by falling forward, just by getting those couple yards. So I think it's exciting to have these kind of running backs. Of course, your offensive line, they got to open the holes. And if you don't have a good passing game, they're going to load the box. We know there's no secrets here. No. And Philadelphia's got an outstanding defense. So I'm overlooking Thursday night's game, not because
these guys probably won't play.
No,
that we're talking about right
we
now.
Got 25 guys. But you know what? I did some calculations. I haven't had a math class in 100 years, but it's easy for me to do multiplication on my phone with my computer, my calculator.
Correct.
So you have 32 teams that are going to be releasing 37 players at 4 o'clock on Saturday. That's 1,184 players all at once in the marketplace. Each team will sign 10 players to their practice squad.
10?
So,
whoa.
10. It's changed. It changed a few years ago.
That sounds like a few more.
So it's 320 players are going to come back, which is going to leave you about 800 some odd players who are without a job, which is just stunning when you think about it. But that's the life of football.
And you don't know. Some of those will be veterans, and I would guess a lot. And of course, they could have been free agents. They could have been guys that have been hanging around, been around the league a little bit here and there. But this is kind of a sad thing, if you really think about it very deeply, is that a lot of them are young guys just out of college. They just left college. They went to college, and this is a whole other conversation for a different time. They went to college, really. It wasn't for that scholarship to get a degree and a diploma and all that. They went to college because they thought they were going to become professional football players and NFL players. Yeah. And now you have to appreciate the fact that these guys, for now at least, the dejection that they're going to feel and the depression and despair. A lot of them, I know I would do this had it not happened that way for me. I would have went back to Lawrence, where I went to Kansas University. And you fall in, and I guess you fall into whatever you've still got friends on.
What
the
would you have done?
Team. Well, you know what? Like I always thought I was going to anyway. I would have been bagging seed and fertilizer down at the grain elevator in Centralia.
Getting the hay in the barn.
Putting hay in the barn. That's about all I knew how to do. I could do a little carpentry work too, but yeah, I had blue collar written all over my future, even though I was a journalism major.
You would have been the fastest carpenter out there, though. I would tell you that,
Bob, Bob Fowler would not say that at all. And he's a guy I used to work for when I was a sophomore and junior in high school. Bob would used to tell people, you got to have Riggins. He's pretty fast out there on the field, but when it comes to doing carpentry work,
Yeah.
So, yeah, he said the work part of it, which is probably true. I always thought I gave Bob a good day. I always did. There was something about the
It stuck with you, though. You remember old Bob didn't
I think
like
it
your
was
work
because at
ethic.
the end of the day, my clothes were still clean. He didn't like that.
Well, we're going to take care of some business here. Hey there, it's me, Larry Michael. One of my favorite things to do is play games for the Virginia Lottery. And they just introduced a new game. It's called Print and Play Rolling Jackpot. It's a Virginia-only instant win game. Has a starting jackpot of $50,000. The jackpot increases with each ticket sold until the jackpot is won. There are no play slips to fill out and no waiting for a drawing. Just purchase, play, and check to see if you won. It's that easy. $2 ticket can win 20% of the jackpot. A $5 ticket can win 50% of the jackpot. A $10 ticket, you guessed it, wins 100% of the jackpot. For each price point, the odds of winning the top prize are 1 in 240,000. Look at it at your favorite Virginia Lottery retailer.
All right, Larry. And now I have a little news for everybody here that probably isn't news. You know, for a while I've been telling you about the plumber I use, O'Connor Plumbing. Now, I got a question for you. Is your plumbing shipshape? Would it pass the O'Connor Plumbing white glove test? Anyway, a lot of us, we tend to have a tendency to put off, crucial decisions because we figure maybe it might end up costing us money, which a lot of times it does. But by putting them off, usually it ends up costing you more money. And that's why I'm talking about your plumbing here and this head in the sand approach to it. I don't think that's the way to go. O'Connor Plumbing gets it, and they're able to work with you and figure out how you want to do your paying your bills if they come over to do any work for you. There's plenty of stress in your day, but they're going to take some of it out. Just let them come over and check your place out. If you play with water, you're going to get wet. I almost said you're going to get burned. That don't make any sense.
It's fire.
You're going to get soaked. So you know what? Call O'Connor Plumbing at 1-833-RIGGLE44 and ask about their special financing options.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
By the way, Larry, I think I forgot to announce that this is episode 43 or 40. It is. So next
season
week,
2, episode 2.
It's season 2, episode 2, but also I'm going with
the cumulative total and the seasonal total.
Stevie Cat says it's episode 43. But next week will be 44, so we'll have special. That's what I was leading with it.
We need a party next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, opening week, 44 is all that now.
Any reason to have a party, let's do it, Stevie, okay? We need balloons, confetti.
Right.
Just put a happy 44.
Fireworks.
Larry, you did a lot of math there.
Yeah, I
with the
did.
Number of players.
Yes.
That is an astounding number of guys
flooding the marketplace
who would do anything to be on a roster and be a made guy and be on the 53, right?
Yes.
But what about the curious case of the golden child, Andrew Luck, in his announcement over the weekend for a guy who some would say is at his prime and is walking away?
Well, everybody's got an opinion on that. My opinion is that the guy's been through so much, apparently. What the irony of it is, obviously, the Redskins traded up in the draft that year to try to get one of two quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
They got one of the two quarterbacks who played great in his first year. He was the rookie of the year. Then injuries took their toll, and now he's still in the league. And he has outlasted in Baltimore.
But he's barely in the league.
But he's in the league. And he's outlasted Andrew Luck. And probably – now, some people think Andrew Luck might have a comeback like Sugar Ray used to do. Might have a comeback in a couple of years. Why not?
A lot of people say the same about Gronkowski, too.
Right? They said the same thing about Jim Brown. They said the same thing about Jim Brown until he was like 44. He never came back.
And he even said it himself.
Yeah, but he left for a different reason.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Well, so again, Gronkowski to a certain extent did too. I mean, he's got some stuff.
Yeah.
He's got to play there as well.
Somebody else stepped away.
We know. We have talked about that on the pregame show.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times for different reasons.
Much like some of the players that are holding out.
Yes.
Who have held out. One of them obviously is Trent Williams. We don't know his status. But ultimately, you're bored, you're broke, and you're back.
And we're waiting for that day for Trent Williams to come in and then make his announcement. What I was going to say about Luck is that it's pretty amazing if you go through his injury sheet. It's like they say about a rap sheet. It's as long as your arm. He's had something every year. And I can relate to a certain extent what he's talking about, but what's really amazing to me is he is playing in the contemporary NFL. Years, I don't know how long it's been, but this league continually gets sanitized. It's hard for me to comprehend the injuries he's had. What I'm saying is if he'd have played 40 years ago, he might not have lasted a year because of the way the position is now. So it's like basically what Terry Bradshaw said. He said it kind of facetiously about, 15 years ago? Well, why don't we just put skirts on them?
Yes.
They have now put skirts on the quarterbacks, and I don't mean that in a negative way, that I want to besmirch women or anything, but we have a tendency, we used to think of that being somewhat a little bit more genteel, like
did they wear colored jerseys back in your day, the quarterbacks? Would they be wearing the red covered jersey? Mm-hmm. Because one thing you have on TC's rundown is the era of the year-round athlete. And so I might take a different tack there. Andrew Luck had that shoulder injury for how long was that?
That's a labor.
It was a year. And again, probably for Andrew, his father was a football player.
Yep, played for Houston. I didn't know that.
Yep, he's the commissioner of the XFL too now.
Correct.
But I would have to think that Andrew was probably lifting weights, probably junior high. Moving on, probably really training hard year-round. But you didn't have to do that. You were baling hay. You were doing work-related training. But a little bit of a different stress on your body, that's something we'll never know the answer to. It comes up a lot when you talk about injuries in the NFL.
I agree.
And how these guys are working out year-round, and what impact does that have on their body versus the rest that you guys. But you also had to work to make money because you weren't wealthy enough to make it a year-round job for you. So... Anyway.
Well, what you said, I wanted to hitchhike off of that and just say you're 100% right. And here's the whole thing. What you're talking about is at what point in time, and I believe now they say that, kids is what I'm talking about, early, teens, preteens and all that stuff. But up to the time you're 18 or 20 years old, weights probably in the long run aren't really something that you should really be doing. After that, my dad, though, he just put, he had some weird ideas, and one of them got stuck in my head, which is lifting weights.
You didn't lift for D-Boy?
I did, exactly. Well, this is where finally D-Boy's logic met my dad's superstition, I guess. And so, actually Dan Riley, the former strength coach here for the football team while Joe Gibbs was here, at least Joe Gibbs part one, he convinced me that it couldn't hurt. That's where I was on it. My dad said, "Oh, it'll make you muscle bound," and Dan said, "Well, no," he said, he told me what it would do, and I went, "Well, it sounds to me like it can't hurt me if I do it." So I went ahead and did it, and I think it did help. And I've tried over the years to continue lifting weights, and now it's probably more important now to me than it was when I was playing. Because as we get older, we lose muscle mass.
Keep your muscle mass, you keep that body working.
But as it relates to, let's say, Andrew Luck and the current players, there's something that because of the way this game has changed and that the teams put such an emphasis on working out and staying in shape, I got to believe that there's not an adequate rest period to get away from this. And that's just me pulling it out of the air. I have no idea scientifically if there's any truth to it.
I feel the same way.
If you go back to the old guys, first of all, very few guys lifted weights, and the game was what it was. Obviously, this has given people an edge, and now if you've got that edge, I have to take that edge. That's why they did steroids and stuff like that. Everybody's looking to make himself a little better. But if you go back to the old days, you worked a job in the off season, and when you were done with that, then training camp started. Well, training camp literally was a place for a guy that hadn't really been doing anything to go back and start getting himself in shape. It lasted 8 weeks, and by the time you came out, you played 6 exhibition games. You came out of that, the regular season started, and every week, in my mind, you played yourself into shape. today, I mean, like I say, there was no such thing known as an IV in those. Nobody got cramps. I mean, I don't remember. I'm sure somebody, but not like today where they're getting IVs at halftime or during the course of the game.
They were giving you salt pills.
Salt pills. Yeah, they were. Plus, plenty of
give
oxygen.
anybody salt pills nowadays?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember Riggo on the sideline with that oxygen mask. That looked so cool. Riggo was just fueling up. I want to ask you a question here. All the starters for both teams will not play in this preseason game. So they're all looking ahead to Philadelphia. How do they go through the process of turning the page on the offseason? Because all of a sudden, they're not going to play in the last game. The next week it's for real. So what are your thoughts on that and how this preseason always ends this way and a player's mindset getting set for that first game?
I think just what we were just talking about, Larry, I think to a certain extent you have a situation here where these guys are allowed a little rest period. They're getting it's kind of like a bye week, really is what it amounts to. And I think for the veterans, for the rookies it's one thing, but I'm trying to think of how many I don't think there's any rookies that will start against Philadelphia, are there? I don't think so. If you look at defense and offense.
I mean, Jimmy Moreland, depending on what lineup Philadelphia comes out with.
So if they come out where they need a dime package, that he would be out on the field, or a nickel back.
Maybe a wide receiver will start. Terry McLaurin might start.
He could start. So there's a couple of them.
A couple guys.
But it's not like they know for sure they're going to be there. But yeah, for the veterans, it's like they get to take a break here. They go to the game, relax, and whatever. And then next week when they come back in here and they start for the regular season, everybody knows now the rubber's going to hit the road. It's time to put your best foot forward. Because preseason, everybody's got got a different approach to it, I think. And the longer you're around, I think a guy like Adrian Peterson, he takes it serious enough, or I should say, creates the illusion that he's taking it serious. But now, next week, the illusion will disappear and you'll see the real AP. Not that you haven't seen a decent representative of that, but I just say, it's like I've always said, it's like playoff games, that the level of play goes up quite a bit. Go from preseason to regular season.
Oh, yeah.
And when you go from the regular season to postseason, anyway, you got something to read.
Intensity.
Exactly.
Hey, Redskins defensive lineman number 93, Jonathan Allen, hates to lose, so he's teaming up with Papa John's and you to help donate to Sandra Bruce Youth Work, helping homeless children in our region every day. Team 93 needs you to make a winning day for your family and those special children. Get a large 2-topping pizza and an order of wings for just $20, and Papa John's will donate 93 cents to Sasha Bruce Youth Work for every single order. Play to eat, play to give, play to win, because nobody wants to lose. Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, efficient energy, building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com.
Riggins. He's going to go all the way, unless Blackwood can catch him, and he can't.
They left the scoreboard out there. I remember seeing Redskins 27, Dolphins 17. And it was that moment of truth where I went, damn, I'm a world champion.
John, when he walked, he had a little bop to him. And besides that, he had the booty out there. They nicknamed him Chocolate Chip.
Story time with Riggo.
Anybody seen that commercial with the guy that at work, he walks to the water fountain and he's bopping around, and then you see him, he's out mowing the lawn and he just walk. You haven't seen that? You got to see it.
I've seen that's fairly recent.
I've
seen a lot of Joe Namath commercials on TV.
Yeah,
lately.
I just saw him when I was watching.
He's peddling some insurance late at night.
Have a gun, will travel.
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
Is that what it is?
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
By the way, there is no team at Koch Industries anymore. David Koch died this past week.
One of the brothers passed away.
Age 79. I think it was him and his brother Charles.
Yeah,
who I think is the older one. He's
what
CEO.
a success story that is. My gosh.
You know what's funny? I used to sell those guys oil. I was in the oil business out in Kansas years ago.
Did you really?
Out around Great Bend, and we'd sell it to their refineries down in Wichita.
Wow.
That's where their dad started the whole deal.
Heck of a success story.
They took it to another level.
They really did.
I'm sorry to hear about David Koch.
So, John, do you have a closing statement here on this episode 43, season 2, episode 2?
I do. The couple things. One, I want to get into pet peeves just for a second.
Yes.
Do you have any that you can think of right away? I mean, there's several of them I got.
I got a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to get into a couple. One of them I'm going to get into is people who And I had it happen today. I had a worker over there at the house today. He was coming in to adjust something that his crew had done something. And I walk upstairs. We're down in the basement doing some work. I walk upstairs, and the front door is wide open. And we have cats, and one of them thinks, he's a tough guy, and he's gonna, if he gets out, he'll get his ass kicked. I can promise you that. But so we don't want the cats to get out. And there's some other people around that you know you're coming back in, right? I mean, I can catch myself doing it every once in a while. Why it's such a problem, or you leave a room that you think you're going to be right back in, you don't turn the light off because I'm going to come right back in. But how easy, it's so easy, just turn the light off, turn it back on when you come in. But that just about, takes me, when I see.
Wasting energy. You're talking about
it's wasting energy. Bugs are coming in, vermin's coming. You don't know, but it's like, hey, close the door, will you? How hard is that to be? So anyway.
That's a pet peeve. We should do a whole show on pet peeves.
Oh, you can keep on going. I eat a big bowl of oatmeal every morning, and I was putting molasses in it, but anyway, it gets sticky and there's all little crumbs and stuff like that. Occasionally, I get up and I forget about it and I leave it on the table. Well, Lisa Marie that drives her up a tree. That she comes in and sees that. Do you know how hard it is to get that stuff off?
Oh, because it hardens in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know what
well, just put it in a sink and fill it up with water
cement.
and soak it. Just soak
like
it.
Cement. That's
and
her
soaking will absolutely lift about anything after a while, unless it's burnt on or something. You let it soak a while.
God, we'll be here. If you open up the home front, I've got about 1,000 of them. I mean, pet peeves? Are you kidding me?
We can do one a week.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's save it for one a week.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, let me get into something here. The season's winded down, everything's starting. My wife and I and my 2 daughters, we went to a concert here recently.
Great.
Now, you may or may not be aware of this, but half of Hootie and the Blowfish, Mark Bryan, grew up over in Bethesda. Or actually grew up in Germantown, I think, or Gaithersburg, someplace up there.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I met him playing in a golf tournament about 10 years ago, and he's a huge, did I say huge?
You said
Redskin
huge.
fan. Yeah, he's huge, just like another guy in 1600 Pennsylvania would say, huge. It's huge.
I know.
Anyway, Redskin fan. So he was in touch with me. He told me, well, we're getting ready to play up there, and, it was at the end of July or beginning of August. I think it was beginning of August. So he asked me if I wanted to go to the concert, and I went, well, sure. I asked my wife, and she said, oh, yeah, and the daughters, they want to go. So we got to go, and they were out at Meriwether Post Pavilion, and so we got the VIP treatment, the whole thing. Derrius Rucker, he comes out, he's one of the other half of the band. Those two guys started.
I know Derrius Rucker.
You do? You've
don't know him, but I know who he is.
Okay.
He's the guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's done his solo stuff, went country and all this stuff, and he's a huge fan of
Carolina Panthers.
Miami. So here's what happens after the concert. We had passes to go backstage, and we go back there, and I went up and introduced myself to Derrius Rucker. Mark Bryan was doing something else, so I hadn't a chance to talk to him, and he looked at me, and he was like. He was almost like Justice O'Connor one time when I ran into her, and she goes, you're. He looked at me and said, man, I'm still mad at you because he's such a Miami Dolphin fan.
Tell Don McNeil to make the tackle. He should be mad at Don McNeil, not you. Why is he mad at you?
He transferred it. He transferred it to me. It was a Coach Gibbs to say, hey, it's me. It was me. It's not him. It's me.
By the way, before we say goodbye, a shout out from Mr. Jeff Bostic. Saw Jeff Bostic last weekend. Actually, last Wednesday at the Redskins rally. He and Lynn were there. He's doing fantastic, looking great. Put on a couple LBs, but haven't we all?
That happens.
And so he says hello to Riggo. We talked about you briefly, and he sends you his best.
Well, back to you, Bosco. Good to have you.
Good man.
And I'm sure you're watching. Anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up for episode 44, or if you're going by the book here, season 2, episode
Next
3.
Week's 44.
Next week's 44.
Oh, that's true. It's like Super Bowl 50.
We need some surprises. We get
It wasn't
some
Roman
surprises.
numerals, huh?
We'll have some surprises for you.
All right. Very good.
So
anyway,
this is your life, John Riggins.
We'll see. Yeah, let's not go that far. That could get pretty scary. See you next week. Thanks for watching Riggo the Diesel.
Have you heard about Creighton Farms, the private club community that's home to the Redskins? Creighton Farms is just 20 minutes from Dulles, but a world away. On top of its award-winning Jack Nicklaus signature golf course, pools, tennis courts, and other resort-style amenities, you'll find custom homes and villas that are simply extraordinary, starting at $1.5 million. For property and legal information, visit CreightonFarms.com, or, better yet, visit Creighton Farms.
Your heart works hard. and sometimes its parts need repair. That's what we do at Innova's Structural Heart Program in Fairfax. With outcomes that exceed the national average, we're a leader in both minimally invasive repair techniques and surgery to address heart valve disease. Give your heart the benefit of care from Innova Heart and Vascular Institute. Find an Innova physician by visiting innovaheart.org/valve. Innova. Join the future of health.
This is not a simulation. This is not a message from the future. The future is here. Introducing Virginia Lottery Mobile Play, the latest in smartphone technology. Mobile Play allows you to play lottery games directly from your mobile device. Obviously. Virginia Lottery Mobile Play. Forget what you think you know about playing the lottery. Download the lottery app today.
Gearing up for game day? Your local Safeway has everything you need for the perfect tailgating or home gating party. Pick up all your favorites like wings, chips and dips, brats, burgers, beverages, and pizza. Stop by the deli to pick up fresh fried chicken or the produce department for a variety of party trays. Head on over to your local Safeway and pick up everyone's favorites. Safeway, the official supermarket of the Washington Redskins.
Well, the new football season is almost here, and this team is not going to settle this year.
No way. They're focused on being the best. That's why they all went and got Hondas on clearance at the Honda Summer Spectacular event.
Because as we all know, if you want to be the best,
you have to drive the best.
Exactly.
Don't settle this football season. Get clearance pricing on a reliable, award-winning Honda like the Accord, Civic, CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, and more. Don't settle. Get to the Honda Summer Spectacular event at your local Honda dealer today.
Locally owned Novec has the most reliable power in the region. And we all know how important being reliable is.
Especially with my electricity.
Novec provides electricity from multiple renewable sources.
Yeah!
And will soon include even more solar.
That's great!
And Novec offers convenient 24/7 online services.
I can pay my bill anytime, anywhere.
Novec.
Power you can trust.